Now welcome to another lightning response video, where this time we got a rather long question or comment left on yesterday's video by the Legend27. And so what I'm going to do is just read the first part of it here and then sort of paraphrase or summarize the rest of it before responding. And so they said, "Hey Thor, a very long comment, but I'm right there with you. On that point of Ventress coming back, I made a comment on you and Naboo's channel yesterday stating, I pray there is a good explanation for Ventress being back. One of the showrunners assured her presence wouldn't interfere with any of the events of Dark Disciple, so we'll see." One of the many replies I got stated something I thought was very sad, but unfortunately very true, which was, "If you expect novels and comics to be strict canon, you will be disappointed by every movie and cartoon." They then go on in the back half of the comment to basically say that there almost seems like there is this elitist attitude, I guess you could call it, from some at Lucasfilm who seem to think their stories or what they want to do is just more important than what others have done, that they don't have to beholden themselves to books and comics because they are lesser or have lesser people reading them, and that this is rather unfortunate and should bother all fans even if they haven't, shall we say, had something retconned yet, because it may only be a matter of time before your favorite story is next. And all of this kind of goes along with a simple question I get asked all the time, which is, why is the continuity so damn important to me? Why does it bother me when things get retconned, especially when it happens to a book or a comic that, relatively speaking, has been read by so few fans? Why shouldn't they just be able to retcon Dark Disciple if it will mean a better story with Asajj Ventress that is loved and enjoyed by many, many more fans than ever read that book? And first of all here, it hasn't just been books and comics that have been retconned. It seems pretty likely that the ending of Rebels, the epilogue of Rebels, the unveiling of Ahsoka the White was retconned, that it is the same event we see taking place in the Ahsoka series, but many of the circumstances around it, including Ahsoka the White herself, has been changed. But anyway, to begin to explain the reason why this bothers me is because a story cannot exist without continuity. If there is no cohesion or consistency from one event to the next, if things just happen regardless of what happened before or what is going to happen next, then you don't have a story. You just have a collection of random events strung together, forming some incoherent mess. And when you then consider that the whole point of having a shared universe, I'd argue, is to not only have a larger story or narrative that connects many smaller stories together, even just very loosely at times, it doesn't always have to be intricately connected, but it's also then to convincingly create a believable alternate reality for others to fully immerse themselves in for the fun of it or for enjoyment's sake, to treat it as real despite obviously knowing it's not, to almost make following this alternate universe a hobby of theirs that they can share with millions of other people out there. And make no mistake, that is basically the selling point of the shared universe, to be able to believe that what you see in one movie or read in a book has some sort of relevancy or bearing on another movie you may have seen or will see, or a book you have read elsewhere, or something you will watch or read in the future. For example, when you watch the Ahsoka series, you want to believe that is the very same character from the Clone Wars, that this isn't just a new or different iteration of Ahsoka, but rather the continuation of a story that's now been going on for 15 years, since the Clone Wars movie kicked it off in 2008. And you want to believe that her story has always been happening in the same reality that all these other stories you've watched and read over the years, maybe over the decades, is the same. Which is then the reason why you, say, get very excited when Hayden Christensen showed up to play Anakin Skywalker in that series. Because it gives it all this more concrete feeling, you could say, that the connections between the Clone Wars and the prequel trilogy are even stronger now. It makes it almost easier to believe, you could say. And like I said, this connectivity is the main selling point of the shared universe, and I mean that quite literally. There are many fans out there who, as I was saying, want to fully immerse themselves in this other universe or other reality, even though they know it's not real. They want to treat it as such, and they want to follow it and know it all. They want to treat it as if they are uncovering an alternate history. It's kind of convenient that Star Wars takes place a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, because that's how some people treat it. And so they then go out and buy all these books and all these comics, and they read them, giving their time and money under the belief that they are part of the same universe, that the movies and shows all take place in this very same universe. They believe that these are the same characters from one show to the next or one movie to the next. And this is not some type of self-induced delusion they want to operate under. This was actually a promise made to them by Disney and Lucasfilm when the expanded universe was canceled. There was a press release from Lucasfilm on the official Star Wars website back in 2014 that said absolutely everything would be canon going forward. They have even made encyclopedia-type books, or the timeline book that tends to try and reiterate this belief, that tries to continue to convince you that yes, this is all in the same universe. In other words, for those who don't understand why some people get so upset about this, who can't figure out why a person would get mad that a book is being ignored or a show or movie is undoing something, well, it's because they were told and sold on the fact that this would not happen. And part of the reason some people even begrudgingly accepted the idea of a new canon, who were not necessarily okay with but kind of understood why the expanded universe got canceled, it's because they looked forward to that cohesion that this time around, unlike the expanded universe that, yes, had its issues when it came to continuity, they figured this time around it was going to be different. Second of all here, and this goes along with what the comment was kind of getting at, but it makes it feel like those in charge of the story or those making the movies and the shows, that they only care about their own stories, not the whole thing. That, right or wrong, they don't care about all of this anywhere near as much as the fans do. And if the ones telling the stories don't care about the larger universe, or about the canon or all the lore that others are creating, why should you, even though you really want to, which is why you get so frustrated? You want them to take it as seriously as you do, and yet they don't seem to. And don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about being upset at little small inconsistencies here and there. Those are understandable and to be expected, and in that case you could even try to go with the whole unreliable narrator explanation if you want to, where depending on who's telling the story or who you're telling it to, you may get slightly different perspectives or versions of events. Minor details may not always line up perfectly. Or if a story is specifically aimed at kids, it might be not so intense, shall we say. You can rectify something like Andor and Rebels being in the same universe and taking place at kind of the same time on the timeline and kind of covering some of the same things. You can rectify it by remembering Rebels was a show rated Y7 on Disney XD. It was mainly meant for a much, much younger audience, and thus events in it may have been, shall we say, watered down a little bit, especially compared to Andor, which is clearly aimed at a very adult audience. However, it's a whole different story when you just blatantly ignore or change a major event from a book, like the death of a character, for example. It feels disrespectful to both the person who created that story in the first place, and to the fans who, again, may have loved that initial story, or just simply put their time and money into it, and then later on learned it's no longer relevant to anything. That, I don't want to say you read it for nothing. It may still have been good in and of itself, but yeah, you may have read it and bought it for nothing if it turned out to be a story you didn't enjoy so much, or maybe only bought and read because you thought or were promised it was going to be relevant to something else you wanted to watch or read. Again, for a lot of fans, the selling point of the books and comics is that they are connected to everything else, that they are, in a way, just as important as the movies or the shows. That one of, if not the primary reasons they invest time and money into them, is because they want to be that vested in the larger story of Star Wars. And crazy enough, those seem to be the fans, Disney and Lucasfilm, and the ones who do the retconning. The ones that seem to care the most are the ones they don't seem to care about shitting on. Probably because they figure if they get them that far on the hook, they're not going to lose them no matter what they do. And to be clear, no, we don't know that the Bad Batch is going to undo or retcon the events of Dark Disciple. Again, as the comment even pointed out, they have come out and said, one of the showrunners came out and said that this will somehow align with the book, which seems to mean she'll either be seen in a flashback or she's coming back from the dead, and I sure hope it isn't the latter. Either way, even if it works out for Dark Disciple that it doesn't get retconned, there are already plenty of other examples of this happening. Of really good stories seemingly sacrificed in order for someone, and a lot of times it's Dave Filoni, but sacrificed in order to now tell a story their own way. And it's just a shame that this promise that was made to us isn't being honored, that it is blatantly being disregarded, and that those doing this don't seem to care about consistency and what others have done before them. They only seem to care about what they want to do. Well, that's going to be all I got for this time. Now it's your turn to take to the comments below and tell me what you think about this one. Tell me what you think about things being retconned. Does it break the immersion of the shared universe idea, or does it maybe not bother you at all? Whatever the case may be, leave those comments below and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.